We have 0 viewers so far. Yoga. Yeah, she's watching.
I'm sure you should see me, right? Just click calendar.
All right. Okay, so we are live. This is really exciting. This is my very first webinar, actually. Let me see if I can chat with these guys a little bit. Make sure. Okay. So thank you all very, very much for coming. I'm really excited about this webinar, which I'm going to show. I'm going to talk over some slides about getting your studio thriving up on the web. And you should have, let's see if I can get this. Can you message question? Okay, so I'm going to switch over to Q&A. I'm going to now switch over to the slideshow and talk you through it. So enjoy. Really looking forward to it. Wait, are you viewing me? I see just one viewer is there. Oh, there's 2. Okay, cool. All right, so here we go. So the title slide, getting your studio to thrive on the web. Let's try it again. Okay, you see it?
Yeah, I see you. I can't chat in this mode. There's no. It's not like a normal hand. It's like
You can chat up here.
Yeah, there's no chat. Now it stopped.
Do you see my?
Oh, now I see your slides. Getting your studios out.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for your patience. We are now. Let's see. We are now going through the slides of getting your studio to thrive on the web. So. So the first question I want to ask is, why do we even want to do this? The reason why we want to do this is, there's a couple reasons, but one of the main reasons is it enables us to give more value to the world. And in the case of us musicians and yogis and artists who have chosen a path of teaching, we've chosen this path because it's our passion. And giving through teaching is one of the ways, the most fulfilling ways in which we can express this passion. And thriving on the internet will help us accomplish this. And it does it in a couple different ways. So by using the power of the internet, we get to keep more of our time. And this is time is the most valuable thing we have. And especially as artists, we know that time is what we use to create, and time is what we use to cook new ideas, and time is what makes us a great teacher. So using the power of the internet, we get to keep more of our time. And you know that you're using the internet effectively when it's saving you time by simplifying certain tasks and automating others. So you're going to really want to have an easily updatable website, ideally with zero prior knowledge or experience with technology. And so this is going to save you time by simplifying that task when you're using the internet effectively. You also want to have be accepting online payments, and that has some other benefits too, in addition to just saving you time. But by accepting online payments, you also will save just raw time by automating that. Another thing that we're going to look at here is how empowering others around you to do some of the work is another way in which you can save time. And so in the teaching business, in the studio world, and when you're teaching freelance, you have a couple of different I'm going to try to go full screen here. Let's see. Okay. So back to number 2 here. You're empowering others to do some of the work for you. And there's 2 different players in this game. You have instructors and you have students. You can save time using the internet by empowering your instructors to do some of the work for you, including take attendance, scheduling an offering, setting up a new student who comes in. And with students, you get to save time. With students, you get to save time by getting them to interact with your website. And this includes registering, paying for classes, and workshops. Okay, keep going. So moving on to the next slide. I tried full screen, sorry guys, but it seems to be going, I'm not sure that you're actually getting a view when I go to full screen. So I'm gonna just make this screen a little bit bigger, and I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so we're saving time, but we're also, by using the internet effectively, we're also setting ourselves up to prosper, which is something that we're all really excited about. Because prosperity enables us to do more of what we love. And in the case of my school that I started back in 2009, the Untitled Chapter School of Tabla, streamlining on the web increased our students and our bottom line almost immediately. So that's kind of part of what I want to help you all do, is get streamlined. So that was the overview of why we're doing this. We want time and we want prosperity, all so that we can give more of what we love, really. This is what it's about. But before we get into the specifics of how to use the internet to thrive online, I want to talk a little bit about who these users are and how they think, because that's really important. And the people that we're appealing to, namely our students and their parents and the people that we're attracting, these people are using the internet a little bit differently than in the past. I call these, in this slide, I call these the now students. So the first thing about these students is that they're mobile. Now, currently, internet usage in the US is 60% is on mobile. So it's important, if we're going to thrive on the internet, to know that our audience is on their phones and on their iPads and their tablets interacting with you online. Another thing about the students is, point 2 here, is that they're independent. These students are they're very used to they're very used to interacting with the world using the internet. And this includes purchasing, this includes maintaining their schedule, this includes staying connected with the people that they love. And the third thing I have here is that they prefer to interact with streams of information. So 1 in 5 page views of the entire internet in the US occurs on Facebook, with now 1.9 billion mobile active users worldwide. We're going to get more into these streams and how we can leverage them to thrive on the internet. But essentially, what I'm pointing out here with these three main topics is that in order for us to thrive, our web efforts need to be mobile, they need to be interactive, and they need to be stream-like. So we're going to get more into what that means. But to drive this point home, I want to show you a little bit of what the past was like and how that contrasts with the future. This is a website which is actually not in the past at all. This is a website which I pulled off the internet just yesterday while making this slideshow. But this reminds me very much of the 90s, in which the thinking was, if you have a website, then you have a presence on the web, which is true in the minimal sense. And websites of the past were pretty much like brochures. This is where you just put information to live on, and that information lived on your website, and people went to it, and they may or may not interact with it in an effective way, but it's simply the minimum of what you had. But now, in the mid-2010s, streams of information dominate the way users get and interact with information. So it's really important for you, if you're going to thrive on the web, to be using to be feeding the streams of information. And the main streams of information these days are Twitter, Facebook. LinkedIn is very important, especially for connecting with other professionals. I was a late adopter of LinkedIn, but I find it very, very effective, and there's thousands and thousands of yogis and musicians using it. And when you're planning a retreat and you're getting references from other instructors and referring students also to other instructors, LinkedIn is very, very useful. YouTube obviously is a great tool for streaming content. By contrast, this website here is static. The information is static. And once you visit the website, you never have a real reason to return because you've already seen it. You've already seen what they're saying, and you don't need to return to this website. And notice how I didn't say once you've read the website, is because you probably, if you're like me or like most people, you're not reading content on a static website. It's almost as if the static website was like still water. By keeping the content fresh and interactive, you have the advantage of enticing students to return over and over. Because each time they return to your website or return to interact with your brand and you as a teacher or as a studio, they're discovering new things. They're discovering what's being offered, and this could include special events or new workshops, or even retreats in some cases. But you want to entice them to come again and again to your website so that they can discover these new offerings. This is really important. And so your website needs to be something that's fresh and interactive. Okay, so what is it about streams that people love? Why do we love them? In here I have two screenshots here. One of Viewcy's Twitter account and another of my personal Instagram account. You see a lot of kids in these pictures, my nieces and nephews. And these are attractive to people because in the same way moving water is fresh and still water is not, moving content is fresh and still content is not. So flipping back, you can see this is not fresh. This looks as if and probably wasn't updated for many, many years. Whereas these shots, you're getting a sense of what's happening right now. Here's a tweet which I tweeted last night, some Indian music that I recommend. I tweet about Indian music that I can recommend. And we're going to talk, I have another webinar coming up soon about social media and effective ways to use it. But in my case, I'm an expert about Indian music. And so what I share is different Indian music suggestions. And people follow me because of that. And I'm building my audience, but you find your kind of niche about what you want to contribute. But the goal is here to stay fresh. You know, I have 300 Twitter followers. and there's probably 0 people following this website. So we want to get you building that audience to thrive on the internet. So I've broken down this flow, the theory of flowing content, into 2 different categories. One is the outward flow and one is the inward flow. So first we'll talk about the outward flow. And the outward flow is essentially the content in which you are pushing out there into the world. And by pushing out there in the world, people that are interacting with that flow get to absorb that information on an ongoing basis. So here's a couple ways in which we can flow outwardly. One is a blog, videos, photos. I recommend Instagram, and then through Instagram you can stream those photos to Facebook and Twitter. And also interacting with others. I mean, this isn't a one-way, this isn't just about you streaming content, but this is about you reading on the internet and finding and seeing who else is contributing things that you like. And when you like something, you share it, because that's really important too. This is about a flow requires that interaction. So a bit about the blog. Let's talk about each one of these points a little bit. I'm just going to tap on each one of these points. So the blog could be looked at as the replacement for the long stagnant text on the website of the past. What we want to do is reserve these ideas and these stories about your philosophy and about your education, and we want to turn them into things that you can write about frequently. So you have a story of an interaction with your teacher. That is really valuable for your students, and that might be something you write about this month. Maybe next month you had an idea about your own practice. Well, that's really valuable for your students. So the idea here is to shy away from long stagnant text on a static website and give out your knowledge in bits and bits. And one of the ways to do that is through a blog. And a blog is flowing, which is really great. A blog is flowing, so you have a chance to tell all the nuances about your rich experiences in sweet little stories, bite-sized bits that you can distribute in an ongoing basis. So the next bit of content here that I want to talk about is videos. Videos, if photos tell 1,000 words, videos tell 10,000 words. And it's easier than ever to upload videos. Videos don't have to be even about you. If you're a musician and you're teaching music, videos could be of a concert that you saw. Tagging the people that are in the video, tagging them on Instagram, tagging them on Facebook is something that helps them. And it helps you build a connection with them. So videos, this isn't all about you, but this is about you contributing. So think about videos as something that you can do frequently and use your community. Your community is made up of experts too. Highlight them, showcase them, and shoot video of them. If it's something that you think you need their permission to show, then I would recommend getting it for sure. But many cases, especially with musicians and if you're a yogi doing yoga poses with your friend and practicing with your friend and they're doing something amazing, take a video. Or moving on to our next point, take photos. Photos are even easier. There's so much beauty out in the world. If you're a musician and you're teaching music, you know that teaching music is much about teaching people about how to express beauty. And if you're taking a walk in the park and you see something beautiful, that's something that you can also use in your feed of information. This is, in feeding content, it's really about thinking holistically about what you're feeding. It's not only about the latest piece that you perfected or the latest posture that you perfected. This is about more, it could be more esoteric if you want. But it's really up to you. It's about you shining and your personality connecting you to others. So And finally, this last point here is appreciating others. I've been tapping into that by saying, like, take photos of your friends and the people in your community that are experts. Well, that's really, really effective, and people appreciate it so much that when you that they reciprocate, and that helps you with this with your own outward flow. So this is all outward flow. Now I want to talk a bit about the inward flow. And the inward flow is what helps people discover. It's really about, maybe I wrote this wrong, but the inward flow, okay, if the outward flow helps people discover you, when they click back to find out more about you, this is the inward flow. This is now people who have now subscribed, they're interested in what you have to offer. And now they're searching for more information about you. And this is the inward flow. And this is equally as important to streamline. So some of the suggestions for how to take advantage of this inward flow is that when you are talking about your, there we go. I'm making this better and better for you to see now. So linking directly, so when you talk about what you're doing, so let's say, for example, you write a blog post about teaching, and the blog post talks about an experience you had. Oh, no, that's not good. Sorry. Sorry. I'm coming. Applause. Where is that applause button? That is really bizarre. Oh no. Control room. You hear applause?
Yeah, those are the thumbs up. Somebody hear a thumbs up.
Oh.
Like what you're saying.
Okay.
If you hear applause, somebody like what you're saying.
Okay. Sounds like someone liked what I'm saying. I hope the applause ends soon.
Is it still going?
You still hear it?
No.
Oh. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Back to this slide here. So when you link back, the goal of here with the outward flow, you're blogging, you're having videos on YouTube, you're talking about what other people are doing, and you're linking back to your offerings. You want that link back to your offerings to be streamlined. So we've talked about how the outward flow should be streamlined. The inward flow should also be streamlined. And what that means is as little resistance as possible. So here's an iPad photo of my school, the Anindya Chatterjee School of Taba. My school means the school that I founded in the name of my teacher. And when I mention the beginner class in my in my blog posts or wherever it is that I'm talking about, you know, wherever my outward flow is being directed, I link directly back to this. So if somebody happens to click on my beginner class, they come right to this detailed page with what's called a call to action. And that's a button to register and pay for that. And you specifically do not want to force them to again digest lots of information. I have this written wrong. You want them to get concise information, and so that they can keep their focus on getting what they want, actually. Because if a student clicks on your beginner class, it's because they're interested in attending your beginner class. And you don't want them to get stuck in a maze of links or a maze of other information. So make sure that your website is designed in a way that helps onboard these students, okay? So the third point I make here is to make sure that you're ready to receive them on all devices. This is also really, really important. If you're not, you know, we already established that 60% of web traffic is on mobile. Well, if you're not ready to receive them on mobile, then that's a big problem. So you want to make sure that your website is mobile. And I'm going to get into different ways to make sure that you can do that, or that you, if that's your problem, then I want to help you do that as well. So onboard the inwardly flowing students by collecting their email. This is another very important thing, is that you want to, when students come to interact with your brand, you want to be able to collect their information so that you can give them, so that when you put out more content later, these people that are coming to your site are connected to you. And the last point I make here is make sure your schedule is up to date. Don't devalue your website by showing old information, exclamation point. This is very, very important. I go to sometimes websites of very well-respected teachers, and they have information up there which is sometimes years old. You are telling the student that this is not the place to get the current information. You're telling them, don't come back here because this is not where the current streaming information is located. So that's very important. And there's ways to have dynamic schedules that make it easy for you to do this without having you have to do it on your own, because that can be very time-consuming and tedious. Okay, so I sum up all this with the new gold standard for a website. And I say this is the gold standard because this is really the minimum standard for today. This is really the way you need to be in order to leverage the patterns of the users that you're trying to attract. Cross-platform. You want mobile, okay? That's very important. You want a website that connects, something that is interacting with your social media efforts. So and this is really a two-way. I can add another line here. I can add two lines, one that's pointing in this direction and one that's pointing in that direction, because you're going to send people back to your website. But ultimately what you want to do is have them interact, which means you want them to be purchasing, and registering. Even not purchasing, some people love cash, but you want them to RSVP at the bare minimum, and you want to collect their information. And finally, you want your website to be current. Don't let yesterday take too much of today. When you have old information on your website, you're basically demanding that your students, you're wasting their time, and time is so valuable to both you and them that it's critical that you make sure your website is current. So now we get to some action items. What actions can you take right now in order to move the needle on this stuff? So here are the slides. So you got to get an optimized website. If you have an optimized website, just bear with me. If you don't have an optimized website, means mobile optimized websites, then you need to get one. Okay, so in order to get one, there's a ton of platforms which help you do this. One of them is Squarespace, which a lot of Viewcy customers that I work with use, and that allows you to basically build a mobile responsive website. You get to design it yourself, and it's pretty user-friendly, but they have great support, so you can really get up and running. If you have an old website, the time now is to change. And if you're not sure how to do it, send me an email. Don't hesitate. I will help you. I will point you in this direction. We can have a 10-minute meeting and get you going. I put Viewcy here. This is some shameless promotion. This is a Viewcy webinar, so I would be a fool not to put Viewcy in here. But Viewcy also helps you build an optimized website. And this is my school running on Viewcy. Back to this thing. We basically give you out of the box everything you need to run a school online. So it's really easy to do this. Don't hesitate. If you don't have an optimized website, you should do it right away. Get hip to social media. This is really important also. And social media takes time. So it's something that it's more like, you could think of, if you think of social media as spray painting on the wall, it's more akin to gardening. Getting hip to social media is about planting seeds and helping others sow their seeds by interacting with content that you feel great about, that's inspiring to you. And getting hip to social media is going to send people back to your optimized website. So there's going to start to be a little bit of a feedback loop here of ingoing and outgoing flow that's going to help you generate revenue. But if you do it right, you don't have to spend a lot of time. And that's where these tools really come in handy, because you don't need a lot of time to set up a Viewcy school. It's really easy, and you can be online collecting payments in literally a half hour. Squarespace, you don't need a lot of time and a lot of effort to get a beautiful website. So get 1 and 2 happening. Now, 3 is something that a lot of people already have, but it's so effective that it's worth talking about. We talked about collecting email addresses. It's a really important piece to the puzzle, but sending an email is one of the most effective ways to interacting with your customers. And it's so effective, and it's actually the most effective way, that it's right up on here. But the reason why it's so effective, but it's not number 1, because when you send out your email, you need a way for that flow to come to you. You need a way to direct that flow inward, right? So you need this onboarding channel in order to make the email effective. If you're sending them to a website which looks like this, which they've already seen, there's going to be a problem. If you send them to a website which looks like this, which has the very next class, you could see I took this picture about a week ago, but if you went to the same website now, you would see today's class at 5 p.m. I'm teaching this class today. My students don't have to look back in time. They look at the current offering. So my emails, back to here, my emails are very effective, because when I send out the email, every time students register. So that's really important. And Mailchimp is a company that I use and I really like. It's a free platform that lets you send out beautiful designed emails, and there's a whole webinar that can be given on how to get this set up. But it's very easy to use, and it's very effective, and it lets you track also metrics. Tracking metrics is very important. You could see, well, if you send out an email with this style, how effective was it? You send out an email a different style, you can see how effective it was, and then you can actually carve out, a strategy with that data. And number 4 here is how is online payments. Online payments is very important. If you want the tap of prosperity to flow, okay, here's the tap of prosperity to flow, then you want as many channels and as many faucets running as possible. And collecting payments is online is just crucial at this point in time. Now, it does cost money to do that, because it's not quite like cash. Like, by accepting credit cards, you're going to pay 2.9% plus 30 cents. And that's the fees of if you're using PayPal, or if you're using Viewcy, or if you're using your own credit card processor. There's going to be a fee to accepting payments. But that fee, it's like it's just so minimal when you're talking about onboarding students and saving you time. When I accept payments online, I save time. My students come and they say hello, and I greet them, and we get right into the music, which is what I'm about. I teach music. I want to get right into the music. And by accepting payments online, I get to do that. And the student gets to focus on studying, and we don't have to talk about money. We don't have to, I don't have to think about how many classes they signed up for and how many they paid for. All that is, using Viewcy, I don't have to. Using PayPal, there's a little bit more logistics that you need to do, but PayPal is very much a favorite in terms of like collecting payments online. So I put it here because it's important you know about it at least. But Viewcy also helps you track how much, like if they buy a package of 10, like a punch card of 10 classes, every time they sign up, it keeps track of that, and it sends them an email automatically, so that you get to save time, which we, as I established in the very first slide, that's the most important thing you have. So this sums up the thinking about how to get your studio thriving on the web, I have, let's see if I can chat you some things and you get them, I hope. If you go to, most of you have signed up for this webinar on uni.viewcy.com. I also give private tours of Viewcy. So if Viewcy is something that you're interested in, I give private tours, and I'm going to share a link with you right now on this webinar with this chat feature here. This is a link to my private tour of Viewcy. I hope you get that. Let's see. Let's see. I can give you. I shared a link here with you. I guess you're going to get it in a second to see. But also, I'm curious to hear if anyone has any questions. Feel free to chat them with me. Or, actually, sorry, going back to the slideshow. I'm not prepared to be seen here, so I'm disappearing again. But I've chatted here the private tour of Viewcy. Feel free to sign up. It's free. And by the end of the tour, I actually give you a whole mobile-ready website at the end of the tour. So it's kind of cool. And whether you decide to use this or not, you'll at least get a sense for what your school would look like optimized on the web. And if you have any questions beyond that, feel free to email me at aaron@viewcy.com. And I just shared that link too. But again, that's aaron@viewcy.com, EHREN at viewcy.com, VIEWCY.com. And we have a couple other really cool webinars coming up, including Introduction to Social Media Marketing Strategy on April 8th. We have Blogging and the Art of Sharing Ideas on April 22nd. And we'll probably be introducing another one soon as we roll out this program of getting you guys informed. I hope you had a great time, and I'm also having trouble with this Q&A feature, but by the next webinar we're gonna have a Q&A feature so that you can actually chime in here. Let's see. It's disabled. I'm just looking up real quick to see if I can do this. Can you? Yeah, we're having trouble with this Q&A feature. I'm gonna have to figure out a way to do that. I'm gonna have to take a webinar on getting my webinars to thrive on the web, because I'm doing having trouble with this Q&A thing. So anyway, thank you all very much for coming, and I hope to see you again soon. And feel free to shoot me an email. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you so much. Take care.